So if we talk about Anna's face, she has 4 very recognizable and sharp features that actually don't match Marilyn very much. In the end, I'm gonna tell you who, from my viewpoint, would be best right now for Marilyn's role. Hello guys, so again we're talking about Marilyn. Today let's talk about Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe in the movie. I don't want to be critical and say that the director could choose another actress for the role of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe is such a character that is based on the look. So, of course, whoever you choose to play Marilyn Monroe, people are always gonna criticize here or there because it's very hard to find somebody who looks like Marilyn, and I will explain why a bit later. Today we're just gonna look at yes and no's. I'm sure the director was aware about the amount of critics it's gonna create. Still, they risked to make this movie. Because even if you find a look-alike, it's very hard to make the mannerisms, the gestures, the body look alike, the movements of the face. Everything matters. The voice, how a person plays. It's very important, the acting skills, acting situation. So I understand that it's a pretty hard choice if we talk about Marilyn Monroe. And I think it's harder to find Marilyn Monroe look-alike rather than somebody else's look-alike, because Marilyn Monroe's face is very soft. That means that her bones and her skin and her flesh on top of her bones, it is very soft and rounded. She doesn't have harsh shadows on her face. She doesn't have any sharp features on her face. She doesn't have sharp nose, sharp eyes, sharp jawline, sharp lips. Even if you look at her jawline from the side, she almost doesn't have a jaw. It just goes up right away to her ear. It's just so soft. Because if you compare it to somebody else, for example, to Audrey Hepburn's jawline, you can see how squarish it is. That already doesn't work to play Marilyn. And there are so many women who are trying to be like Marilyn, and that was one of the biggest things, one of the biggest no-nos in order to be more look-alike to her. For example, if a person is playing somebody with more prominent features and more sharp features, that is a little bit easier because you can contour somebody's face with makeup. And with the right angle and right light, that can actually look pretty close. Once my friends, they are Beatles tribute band, they asked me to do Beatles faces on their faces. I did this AlyonaY channel for a while where I did all those transformations, remember? And actually, Marilyn Monroe transformation was my first ever video on this channel. I want to redo this actually because there are some points that I want to recreate. But just in general, I was doing these transformations and these guys asked me to do Beatles makeup for them. I was like, okay, let's try, because they had photo session. So I did it, and you know, it's easier a little bit to create the shadows and just to create that, for example, depth for the eyes here. You are just placing a lot of more shadows here. To make the nose sharper, you're just placing 2 darker lines here. But then on contrary, if you already have that sharp features on your face and they're trying to make your face softer, first thing to do is apply everything light on the nose, everything light on the lips. But the problem here is every time she's on a daylight, every time the light is not spotlight in front of her, but the light is coming from the side, immediately her own shadows, her own sharp shadows on her nose or her lips are becoming darker. So that already is creating her own contouring of her own face. And no matter how much of light powder you apply here on her nose, around her lips, it's not gonna work when the light is a little bit, even a little bit angled. So that is the problem to recreate Marilyn Monroe look on anybody who has even a little bit more character on their face, more recognizable facial features, because as I said, Marilyn Monroe features are very blurred and blended and you can't find anything sharp in there. Everything is very, very rounded and soft. Watch till the end. In the end, I'm gonna tell you who, from my viewpoint, would be best right now for Marilyn's role, who of ones that I know. When I look at Anna, I can approximately understand why the director chose her for this role. First of all those previous actresses that were trying to play Marilyn Monroe, they were criticized by having too angular and harsh face for Marilyn, because Marilyn had that very innocent and slightly childish facial features, facial expression. So I think the director looked at that from that viewpoint. Okay, we have to find somebody who doesn't have elongated face, who has slightly rounded and slightly doll-like face probably. But the problem with doll-like faces is they have puffiness plus some sharpness. But Marilyn didn't have that. This is the difference between, if we talk about kibi body types, yeah? This is the difference between, for example, gamines or soft gamine and romantic. Romantics look more womanly, if I can say so. Plump, lush, but womanly. Soft gamines and gamines, they look like dolls. They also have this youth, and they also can have this roundness and puffiness, but at the same time, they have some sharpness and angularity in their faces. And these things you can't hide. And still, if you're trying that Marilyn look on yourself, it's gonna look like little girl is trying to look like her mama when her mom is out. So she's getting the makeup, she's getting the wig. It all looks too much on those faces. When I looked at Anna's body, I didn't see softness as Marilyn had, that curves, but at the same time, I also didn't see too large bones or too elongated bones, right? I'm not sure what David Kibi would say what type she is. I'm sure she's not dramatic. She's not sharp enough for that, not elongated enough. She's not soft dramatic, for sure. One of classics, her face, I think it's too far from classic essence. Her face is more like soft gamine or soft natural essence to me, and her body is between classic and natural. So probably to me, she's probably maybe soft natural, somewhere there. Soft gamine, some people might say because of she has a doll face. To me, for soft gamine, she has a little bit bigger body. So she's one of those who has bigger body, smaller head, smaller baby doll head. Anna's body looks pretty moderate to me. She's not very angular, but she's not very soft as well, which is good and bad. To play Marilyn's softness is a little bit hard because she has to do all those gestures how Marilyn would. She was moving like a cat. So this is Marilyn's vibe. This is how her body worked. So she knew her muscle. I actually just recently did this video, what Marilyn didn't want you to know about her. And one of the most popular comments actually there was, that is so exhausting. The amount of things that she had to consider. You're right, but I think she drilled it over the years and she got used to it so much. So it's natural for her. Like if you drive in a car, when you just started, it was probably very confusing because so many things at the same time you have to think about. But now probably you don't even think about it. So it's like naturally your body remembers the moves. Her facial muscles, she trained them to such a degree that it remembered all the moves. It remembered the moves of lips, of the eyes. It was natural for her. She made it natural for her. And in this video, I'm explaining why she was doing that lip. So if we talk about Anna, her shoulders, first of all, they are squarish slightly. I can't say that they are very wide or they're very angular, but still they are squarish and they are more angular than Marilyn's. Marilyn's shoulders are more tapered here, so that is like a soft line that Marilyn has, and it actually is changing a lot for everyone, for everybody. But I think when you are copying Marilyn, it's more important to copy the face though than the body, because the body you can just put something here, put something there, you can slightly cover the shoulder area, but you can't do much with the face, especially if the face has very sharp features and very recognizable. So if we talk about Anna's face, she has 4 very recognizable and sharp features that actually don't match Marilyn very much. So feature number 1 is sharp nose, and her nose is very exact shape, even though proportionately the length of the noses is pretty much same. Like it's as short as Marilyn, but Marilyn's nose is very, very soft. Anna's nose, we can see very sharp bones and skin on top of those bones. So she has a couple of sharp bones here. They're going wider a little bit in the middle of her nose, then they go sharper again. She has very sharp tip. Marilyn had more rounded, more soft tip. Then her teeth. Also, she has like front teeth that are sticking out a little bit too much for Marilyn, because I think every time that happens, face looks more childish and youthful rather than that. Marilyn's mouth is very much about the teeth line. Her teeth very slowly and slightly rounded like this. Slightly oval, and every time we have that kind of teeth that are sticking out, or these sharp teeth, I don't know how I call them, like vampire teeth, yeah? For example, this girl, she's impersonator of Marilyn Monroe. She even bought the house where Marilyn Monroe lived, and she now lives there. That's another thing, like she mostly looks like a child and trying her mama's wig and her mama's makeup because her face is too childish for Marilyn. Marilyn did have that innocence, but at the same time she was very womanly looking. That is another reason. That is 2. Number 3, what is very different is sharp lips. What I mean by sharp lips is that the shape of the outline of the top lip is very sharpened, which is making it hard, first of all, to overdraw the top lip, which was absolutely necessary to create that Marilyn look, because Marilyn always added on the sides here, not even here in the center, but she would overdraw the lips here on the sides. And Anna's mouth is a little bit too small and slightly like doll-like, and Marilyn's lips were very, very soft. So basically you couldn't almost see that sharp cupid's bow on her lips. You couldn't even see that because her lips would go to the skin almost invisibly. And Anna, every time she had the light from the side or she would go outside, we could see actually the real shadows of her lips, and that is changing a lot. She has, again, doll-like lips, not Marilyn's lips. And feature number 4 that Anna has that is different from Marilyn is her chin. And her chin is sharpened and it looks again like a doll chin rather than a womanly chin. And Marilyn Monroe's chin, that's slightly longer and more rounded, and it doesn't have that sharp rounded circle like a ball here. And for example, me, Ana de Armas, or this girl who's impersonator of Marilyn, we all have this childish, more heart-shaped chin that is sharp. It always goes more to the direction of doll features rather than womanly features. So same makeup can look slightly cartoonish on us. Now, bleached blonde hair, especially in this shape, it can make many women look very artificial, especially nowadays. And especially women like Anna with slightly olive skin. For her, it's just naturally not suiting. And this is why it can really look like a wig rather than like her real hair. Like, you don't believe that. Even though, of course, Marilyn bleached her hair too. Very big change from her natural hair. But I still think that it just doesn't suit Anna's coloration, just in general. Also, gestures and mimicking of the face, facial features, facial expressions. Every time she's trying to make this playful kind of surprise face, it's not there yet because she has heavy eyes, slightly heavy eyes. And Marilyn didn't have heavy eyes. When I say heavy eyes, it's not just expression of the eyes. And I'm not talking about this. This is not heavy eyes. It's a dreamy bedroom, half-closed eyes, but still it looked very lightweight. And heavy eyes, I have slightly heavy eyes too. It's like, first of all, it's the quality of the glance. So there was some kind of lightness in Marilyn's face, and Anna, she has a bit more musculature in her face, so her face looks a little bit heavier than Marilyn's and not as lightweight, if I can say so. And also what creates heaviness of the eyes is the beginning of the brows that are slightly lower. I also have this, so sometimes, especially when I'm swollen and I have more heavy eyes effect than usual, I just add a little bit of the several strokes here at the beginning of my brows to make my eyes more open and my facial expression more light, just in general. And Anna, the beginning of her brows is a bit too low for Marilyn. So every time she was trying to make this surprise expression or very innocent and playful expression, she kind of tries to make her eyes like this, but when your brows are like pulling everything down, it looks artificial. You know, some women, sometimes they make Botox and they just can't lift the beginning of their brows up. They end up looking like this all the time. So basically the tips of their brows is much higher than the beginning of the brows. The brows kind of start somewhere here, and it creates that expression all the time, and it does add some age and makes the face look heavy and artificial. Sometimes some women, they do microblading, that tattoo on the brows. Normally brow masters, they know how to do it, so they measure it and they kind of lift it a little bit slightly, especially here too. And Marilyn had pretty high beginning of the brows, so she had pretty good amount of space here between the brows and the eyes, so the eye space was much more open. This is why it created that more lightweight effect on the eyes, especially with the makeup. All that kind of makeup, especially with the black eyeliner, the lashes, and the brows, it all creates that heavy eye, and with that heavy eye effect and heavy brow effect, too much makeup, it just created that clownish face. So that, if you notice this, Marilyn's face has always looked lightweight with that makeup. And every time any woman is trying to do the same makeup as Marilyn, they are slightly overdoing it, I can tell you. They are overdoing it to that degree that and with that slightly heavier faces, with slightly heavier musculature on their faces and features and slightly heavier eye, heavier brow effect, that is creating that heavy makeup effect on them, and that is one of the differences. This is why it looks clownish, artificial, and more theatrical. Now let's look at things that are on point, as I think. First of all, it's good that Anna has some figure. She's not very large. She doesn't have very large rib cage. She doesn't have very large shoulders, because that would kill the look immediately. So that is a good thing. Another good thing that the director chose somebody with youthful face rather than elongated face. I think even though she had more like a baby face, Marilyn Monroe had not round face. She had more like soft oval, I would say. So yeah, that's good. Childish face, slightly rounded, slightly wide face, and not elongated. That is a big plus point. I think it's much better to go to that direction rather than to the other direction. I want to say a little bit more about makeup, because every makeup artist who is doing makeup on somebody to create Marilyn effect, they are making same mistakes. More about this, I'm gonna talk in one of my next videos when I'm gonna again recreate Marilyn's look on myself. I'm gonna redo my Marilyn's transformation, but I'm gonna just tell you a couple of things. So basically, many makeup artists, they first of all overrate the blue eyeshadow that Marilyn's makeup artist AlyonaY talked about. It was not like, oh yeah, for some movies, sometimes you could see something bluish on her upper lid, but it wasn't that bright. It wasn't that there was Marilyn Monroe and that blue eyeshadow, like on Andy Warhol picture, I don't know. It was not that blue, and it was not that light. When you remember Marilyn in your head, you never remember that blue eyeshadow on her eyes. You remember the shape, you remember that wispy lashes, the eyes, you remember those bushy triangle brows, and you remember those luscious lips. This is all you remember, and this is all you have to recreate. But all of that I'm going to discuss in my new Marilyn transformation video. So stay tuned, subscribe on this channel, and click the bell button not to miss it. In the end of this video, I promised that I would tell you who I think, from my viewpoint, would be great for Marilyn Monroe role, who I would do makeup for, and we will create Marilyn, I think. Little pre-story. I love watching interior designs on YouTube, and I'm watching a lot of them, and YouTube once recommended me one channel. It's called Posh Pennies, and her name is Vivian, I think, and she's just talking about interior design. And I'm always analyzing everybody I see, every new YouTuber that I see. I'm always trying to analyze from a Kibi viewpoint, like what kind of body type she could be. And I'm looking at this Vivian, and I'm seeing myself doing Marilyn makeup on her face, because her face is just so close. I think that we could definitely make her close to Marilyn. Maybe not like exactly. Of course, you can find some here and there, but big blue eyes, rounded eyes, far set eyes, exactly like the distance, soft lips, that soft oval face shape. She doesn't have any sharp features on her face. That's my viewpoint. Click the join button here to become my sponsor, or welcome to my Patreon. I'm so happy when you subscribe and support me. It's really helping my channel to grow. Okay, bye.